Innovation can provide opportunities for employees to take risk. If employees are being assured that failures are accepted as a natural part of innovation, further opportunities for growth and learning can be explored. In this panel discussion, our panel of experts will discuss fostering engagement and the role of HR in driving a culture of innovation and learning. I would like to invite Ruchira Bharadwaja, CHRO, Future Generali India Life Insurance Company Limited, to moderate this panel discussion. Joining her are the esteemed guests Anil Gaur, Group CPO, Uniparts Group, Manu N. Wadhwa, CHRO, Sony Pictures and Networks India, Raghavendra K., Senior VP and Global Head HRD, Infosys BPM, Mahalakshmi R., Head HR India, Mondelez International.
So thank you, Manu. Thanks, Mahalakshmi, Anil, Raghavendra for joining the discussion. I, Actually, I should thank ETHR for getting me such brilliant panelists who have been truly at the forefront of the changes in the people agenda and the new ways of working. So we are all set for today's discussion. Really, the global pandemic and how it has impacted the new ways of working has been discussed and threadbare over the past 10 months or so. Some of you have been absolutely at the forefront with your prolific thoughts, sharing how you have adapted and adopted new ways of working. Today, we are going to really focus on two major things, how the people processes have been changed. And I'm looking forward to your inputs and a very insightful discussion towards the same. So the immediate focus really during the pandemic and has been this entire paradigm shift towards the resetting of the future of work and designing the people processes, of course, keeping the customers' requirements as well as the employees' requirements. We have heard a multitude of times how companies have put forth policies, right? New policies for working from home, etc., etc. Today, I would like to take that thought, that thread forward and ask you about really what you guys are thinking for your organization or your industry or work, new ways of working at large, about how the things are going to be shifted from this point of view. So I would straight away go to my first question, and I would ask Manu about really looking, if Manu, you have to look beyond the policies, right? And if you have to adapt new ways of the emerging employee needs who are working remotely, what's that the new things that you have discovered? What are the things that you have adapted? What are the things that you are thinking of adapting for the future? Over to you, Manu.
Thank you so much, Ruchira, for such a warm welcome. And it's great to be co hosted along with my fellow panelists. I think all of us have been in the same boat ride wherein we have experimented, learned from each other, and found ways to operate and thrive in the new normal. And in thriving through this new normal, I think the core for many of us in our organization has been the tenet of driving employee experience, employee health, safety, and well being at the front and center. In this time, I would focus and highlight on many things that many of us did centered around employee health, safety, well being at the forefront. But one angle wherein I feel the differentiation has come has been the approach in which we have engaged with employees. As you rightly called out, that this pandemic has taught us approaches which were never thought of. In our industry, just as an example, media and entertainment, we could never imagine a world where everything could work virtually. And here we have, after 10 months, successes in the form of virtual auditions, virtual platforms driving successful shows, and also lead talent finding their own creative ways to be virtually available for their audiences. In that dynamic for employees as well, we made sure that their engagement, their connect with the organization in a virtual work format is kept at the front and center. And the engagement thread, which is generally a cultural binder between the employee and this invisible human called the organization, that happens, it largely happens with the torchbearers who are the leaders of the company. So we made sure that the engagement thread is carried forward by the leadership and amplified through their engagement with the last mile. And the entire element of this engagement was called as LEAP, Leadership Engagement Amplification Program. And under LEAP, we made sure that the leadership of the organization went all the way out to be connected to the last mile production spot manager, to somebody who's a lead artist, to somebody who's a key talent, and showcase not just the element of what an organization stands for or its values, but showcase their vulnerability and how they are managing their lives in these times of need, how they are managing the adversities at their personal end or at their professional end, and being human about it. I think being human is what brought this engagement element to life, because employees who were at far distant places, who could not see the four walls of engagement in office, felt connected to the organization through this opening up of the leadership. So I'll just pause here in my opening remarks. I think to what has been our biggest discovery, I think it has been our ability to engage with the workforce with the most important tenet, which is connecting the leader to the last mile of the organization, and everything in a virtual format. But I'll pause here and I look forward to learning from my other colleagues as well.
Manu, thanks. And I am going to go straight away to Maha. What have you discovered? What are the new ways of connecting with your employees that you have discovered? Or what are the things that you think are going to crop up in the future?
Yeah. No, I think maybe fundamentally, I think one of the things all of us realized during this period is really the importance of a growth mindset and agility. I think that is really been at the heart of how organizations have succeeded, recovered, and are thinking of resetting themselves into the new reality. And I think that has been at the heart of perhaps what has fundamentally changed. Now, coming specifically onto engagement, perhaps maybe let me share 3 or 4 pivots, and we can go into detail as the conversation progresses. I think a lot has been said about engaging employees, but I think the frame that I want to kind of put in, which is really the first, is this period taught us how to leverage technology actually to engage not just the employee, but the family of the employees, and we can talk about it. We've actually rediscovered ways of engaging with the consumer, the shopper, as well as with the community, and all of these has been pretty much reset, in this period. The second thing really is, I think I see so much of industry sometimes sitting and bemoaning this piece, saying, oh, culture, it's so difficult, back in Mondelez, we onboarded around, more than 10,000 colleagues in this period, more than 1,000 colleagues in this period. And I think what we realized is that, that smell of the place, which is how, a lot of people describe culture, it's found its own virtual or hybrid avatar, and people are finding ways, and I think Manu alluded to it and how she spoke about it. We've all found ways of creating that uniquely Mondelez experience in this hybrid reality. So I think the second point, therefore, that I want to make really is that let's not really look at what is not there anymore. The fact is that there has been a reset. Work, life, everything has changed, and as that has changed, how do we adapt is really the more important question. And looking at examples of where that adapting really worked, and we can talk about some of those examples as we go in, not only in terms of onboarding, but also in terms of how relevant learning in most organizations was curated, how it was leveraged to really unlock the growth potential, both of the business and our people. I think the last one from my side, really, that I wanted to kind of perhaps mention in my starting itself, really, is I think so much is being discussed about the how of engagement. We keep talking about technology, saying how are we engaging, but perhaps what is also fundamentally shifted is the what of engagement. What engages people today, whether it's the consumer or the shopper or the employee, is really different than what it was some time back. So I think we should spend some time on the what of this engagement and the possibility that it holds for us as we get into thinking into the future. So therefore, to summarize, I think I would really say, look, it is up to us to adapt and have that growth mindset as we go forward. The opportunity that is there with us is because we don't need to coexist in one geography. There is an opportunity to engage a wider group, and what is really important is what are we engaging with, and then the how follows, and that's really how perhaps we can catalyze the potential of this opportunity.
Thanks, Ma. I think we are going to smell a lot of what during this conversation. I can see that the conversation building around those nuances. Anil, over to you. How would you describe the changes and the things that you think are coming up now in terms of engagement?
When I look back, year 2020, I think it was a year like no other, at least in last 4 or 5 decades, what I've seen in my own life. And this pandemic situation has really created almost unspeakable human and economic distortion that we all know. It has really destabilized the lives of people across. And there is no doubt that this crisis is going to bring irreversible changes in the ways we think and we work. So, for example, in manufacturing industry, uh, there were a lot of the practices which they were never dreamed about. They never looked at that. Perhaps they can look at working with the on virtual platform, working from a remote. So, in my thinking, people and businesses have shown a lot of resilience and innovation in last 7 8 months, and it leaves me with a sense of optimism that we can and we will be part of the bright future, even though there is still quite some distance to get there. COVID-19, when we look at, I think it will continue to play major role in 2021 also. Now, when I'm looking at what we did in Uniparts and what I've seen and witnessed in other companies, specifically with employee engagement, see, first 3 months of this COVID, uh, all of us were surprised. We were not prepared. But one thing at Unipart, what we did is, before the government took any decision on work from home, or there was a confusion. So in the second week of March, we decided to start a work from home, because with the simple purpose in mind, taking care of the people and their family. So what we took a decision. And the second element which we have supported people, and rather, I would say the people have supported the business, is flexibility and adaptability to changing environment. And that has come very well. I also remember uh, the statement of Dale Carnegie when he talked about the engagement, he talked on the three elements. One is the pride in the organization, trust in the senior leadership, and relationship orientation. And I think when I look at the uni part, all these three elements were somewhere present, and we got a tremendous response and support from people and their families. So what we did different, we immediately created the virtual platform, although we were not very much ready, but the kind of work the team has done in initial 2 weeks in the month of March, the entire infrastructure was created across the globe. We have overseas location as well as the 5-7 location in India. So resource planning was tremendous and very, very fast. Adaptability of people, wherever the training was required, that also we did. But what happened? First 3 months, we were so excited towards managing the business, talking to people, but in the process, we did not remember to create work-life balance. So somewhere, when we were in somewhere in middle of May, we realized that, are we going crazy? Are we putting too much of pressure on the people and created a kind of a mechanical life for them? So the immediately idea came in to provide training that what is the meaning of work from home. So we conducted a series of programs covering all the population and taught them that what is the meaning of work from home and how they should regulate and monitor their own time. And on the other hand, they should also be consciously looking at the business priorities and so on and so forth. Another aspect of engagement, what we have brought in is empowering people. So when we looked at the agility, we looked at the resilience, we also looked at that how we can create an innovative culture, which was already there in available in the organization. But it was very important that people sitting at a remote location should also think differently. They should be in a position to come out with a new idea, new ways and means to do the business, to do or to manage certain tasks and responsibilities assigned to them. So what is important from the senior leadership perspective? Empowering, and one more aspect, tolerance of mistake has gone very, very high. So one mandate was any employee sitting at a remote location taking any decision is okay, fine, perfectly fine. And in the process, if they commit a mistake, that is also welcome. Rather, we created a platform to celebrate mistakes, right? But that mistake, the idea is that, when we are looking at all these aspects and we want to really engage with our people, want to give them confidence that we are there for them and we are there to take care of their families as well, that trust and confidence building is critical. And that relationship orientation, which we could accelerate during this period of pandemic, is really helped the Unipart to come back very, very fast.
Great. Thank you, Anil, for those thoughts, I think. But before I get to the next question, which is very close to what you spoke about, Raghav sir, your opening remarks.
Thank you, Ruchira, and a warm welcome to all the participants in the panel discussion. I think a very profound and topical discussion this is, because from the wealth of information that is shared, I think me saying will only probably add some aspects to what people are talking about. Because as far as all of us know, the pandemic has caused tremendous disruption in our lives and business. I look at it as an opportunity. And as HR, the need is how we can support organizations. What is it we need to do to catalyze change in our workplace? And what is the expectations organizations have in terms of rethinking, reimagining, and reconsidering what it means to foster, nurture, and develop talent at one end. And on the other, in terms of how we are able to deliver services and strengthen our entire delivery mechanisms to our own customers and end users, is what a forward-looking HR strategy is, what the focus is. The question all of us need to ask, in my view, is that how will organizations deliver its most compelling work experience? What is the experience that needs to happen? Because in my view, the issues that we face are complex, including employee support, well-being, leadership development, pay, benefits, shift working, strategic partnerships across the organization, because it has to work as a well-oiled machine. I was recently reading a Gartner survey released in June, and it surveyed 127 organizations, and its leaders said that surprisingly, or should I say not surprisingly, 82% of respondents or leaders said that their intention to allow remote working will continue for some more time. And 47% of them said that that will become a full-time way of life into the future. So that leaves us with a lot of challenges, or should I say newer opportunities and learnings. Whichever way one looks at it, is how do we adapt in this complex hybrid virtual environment, and what is it we should do to network, collaborate, innovate while we deliver services, solutions to our end customers. I think the focus for us as HR, if I have to say, is that how do we motivate, engage, and get our employees to deliver in such challenging environment? Because for me, today, people call it the hybrid model of working, or work from home, work from office. I coined a word, I don't know if others have done it. I call it the office, home and office is what I would say. That is the challenge. And when people talk of work-life balance or working from home, I say it is actually now the situation is living at work. That's the way the world has changed. And the question is, what are the newer methods? That's the question you asked in terms of how do we engage employees in this remote work world? And for me, before I just straight away get into that answer, I always draw a lot of parallels from our own mythology, or mythology, as some people say, is in terms of what is it we do in terms of getting our employees 100% engaged and for them to have a larger purpose. Stories we've heard, and Indians are very keen and adapt and want to hear stories from the Mahabharata and Ramayana, irrespective of the age group people are in. I think for us, especially in HR, I think we need to draw parallels. And if I need to bring it back to our engaged, happy employee, so, what is the question we need to ask? Or who is an engaged employee? I think someone, in my view, who is willing to go beyond what is in one's job description, what's in her scorecard, and do it with immense passion. And what modern management, in my view, calls it the discretionary effort. It's the choice of that individual to make a difference. And we need to find that magical portion to understand what is it that makes a person go beyond, and what is it they will do that will add value. How do we get this so-called circle of engagement? It could be acknowledging what they do, it could be accolades, it could be recognition, but it is unique to each individual for them to perform beyond. What is that sense of purpose and how is it they can be engaged? And as HR and in any organization, we need to create an environment where all of these can happen. And then employee engagement, in my view, becomes a natural outcome. Research also indicates that highly engaged employees put in more than 50% of that discretionary effort. And that is what we as HR need to find out, what is it we can do to keep them engaged. Going back to mythology, a classic example of a person who looked at nothing for himself, but went beyond his so-called call of duty. I can think of Hanuman, who was one of the many people in the Ramayana before it actually became a full-fledged epic, if I may say so, was an ally, minister, or of Sugriv. And then when Rama came in, he selflessly looked beyond. And today, if Ramayana is spoken about, without Hanuman, it is incomplete. I think that is what we should look at it. I know it's very idealistic, but going beyond in terms of not looking for anything else for himself, but just a look, a glance, a hug, a sense of acknowledgement from Ram made that huge difference. But I think we need to get more real in terms of in the hybrid emerging virtual world, and what is it we need to be doing? First, as HR, I think we need to be sure what is it that is expected of us so that we can guide our employees how to navigate the change. In my view, the need is to play a key role in leading people in terms of what is in it for them, keeping them engaged, and more importantly, informed. Because now it is critical to ensure employees know, more importantly, feel that they're part of something bigger. Adopting regular check-ins, providing resources, getting help, offering mindfulness activities, keeping some fun in the mix are all part of this particular aspect.
I'm going to shift gears and I'm going to come to you, Mahalakshmi. You spoke earlier about being agile. Of course, Anil also spoke about it, saying we need to really cater to the requirements, the changing shifts in the customer's mindset and their requirements. Now, if that is at the core of the change, how do you think HR can foster a collaborative culture which is going to promote creativity, which is going to promote innovation? Because I think all of us are looking at new ways of working, new processes, new practices, new initiatives. So over to you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ruchira. I'll try and be brief, and we can go into
Thank
details
you.
as you desire. So look, I mean, I think very well said. I think the pandemic, and I think a lot of my esteemed, co-panelists have said it. It's been a time when a lot of our own, mental models got challenged. Our own beliefs of what is possible, what is not possible, everything got challenged. So if I take a Mondelez example, during this pandemic period, during the lockdown, we actually launched 6 new products. Actually 7, new products, and most of those products were not just rebrandings of an existing product with some packaging changes. Many of them were fundamentally different platforms. As a chocolate biscuit Bonvita Tang company, we actually went ahead and launched cakes. We actually piloted Bonvita Fills, which is like a cereal that you have in the mornings with milk. We piloted it into 2 states right in the middle of the pandemic, and it really challenged our own belief of whether R&D can happen, without in-person connects. How do you really, get to know? And how did we really do that? And therefore, to come to your question, I would say, look, there were 3 things, perhaps, or 4 things behind it. One really is listening, and perhaps that is at the heart of all of collaboration and all of innovation, and listening to the consumer in this case. And what we did was we used what we call Know Your Consumer app. So we shifted from consumer insights being a department to the KYC app being something wherein any employee could actually go in and register themselves to get into dialogues with the consumer on what do you snack on. So which is, other than the 3 main meals that you have on the day, what are the moments where you feel like popping something in your mouth? Is it right after the gym? Is it when you're feeling very tired and you need energy? Is it when you are doing a Zoom call and you want to celebrate? So what are the moments when you really snack? And with that, what are the moments where we don't play, and therefore how can we play? So I think using technology to do consumer immersions was really an example of how we leveraged the opportunity, and expanding it to a broad set that could actually go and do it, because you didn't need to physically travel to meet the consumer. Secondly, I think Anil spoke about it, ensuring they're embedding that culture of test and learns. Now culture is not what's written in the walls in a slogan or, et cetera, et cetera. It's about what do we really encourage, So we had to unlearn this idea of perfection, and really do even more in terms of encouraging pilots, testing and learning, and seeing if we can get the ethos of a startup inside a very large MNC, So how do we do that? How do we as leaders make it okay to fail, encourage people to take a product to market to 1 state or 2 states instead of doing a pan-India launch, which is what we did with Bonvita Fills. So the second thing really is embedding that culture of test and learns. And 3, I think we realized pretty early in the process that while we keep saying we got to adapt and you need to have that growth mindset, a lot of our leaders were struggling with inspiration, and I think someone spoke about it. The first 3 months, everyone was in that rara of saying we got to find a way, and all employees were putting days and nights into doing what it takes to unlock growth for the business. But somewhere it was important that as we realized that this is not a one-time blip and this is a long-term piece, perhaps knowing how to lead remotely, and not only in terms of listening, connecting, etc., or doing all the normal employee life stages from hiring to development and coaching virtually, but it was also really about saying what is inspiration, and how do you inspire when you genuinely don't know how the colleague is truly feeling. The person may be putting on war paint and coming onto a Zoom call and participating in something, but what are they really going through? Are you really making the time to? So flexible, is a learning program that we launched to really equip our leaders in terms of what is inspiration when work is actually hybrid. It may not be work from home. It may be that some part of your workforce are physically there, some part of your workforce are working remotely, some have actually gone back to their cities where their parents are, etc., etc. So everybody is in different places. How do you really inspire into a common purpose and a common vision? How do you really empower? Because actually you may not know the answers because they are closer to the ground, and that was really what Flexible was about. So I think, to summarize, I would say, innovation and collaboration was really for us about leveraging technology to get closer to the consumer, embedding a culture which is a little more entrepreneurial, and really investing in Flexible, so that we learn to inspire this very hybrid workforce.
Thanks, Maha. Extremely interesting. So 6 new products you said, right? There's a cake also out there. I have to get it.
Choco Bakes, Cadbury Choco Bakes. If you haven't
Choco
tried it,
Bakes. All right. It's going to be right in my agenda, right on the top. I'm going to come to Manu, you, because very interestingly, the series, the television series and actors not really able to work together. How are you inventing products and services? How are your employees coming together to make it happen? Very intriguing, and really want to hear you out on that.
Thanks. Thanks a lot, Ruchika. I was very intently listening into Maha's story, and between a product company and a media company, there are so many correlating factors. There is a live product, Choco Bake, or I love their dry fruit coated chocolate products. They're just outstanding. To coming into consumer segment who are watching in our shows day in and day night and using our tellies to practically escape from the realities of today. And we call it escapism in our world. Escapism is the biggest mental torchbearer that helped our consumers at this time. And in order to be able to take on the mantle, wherein we realized very early on in this journey of 2020, when the pandemic hit us, that torch-bearing effort was that the only thing which a family was doing at home, beyond managing the life pattern of change, was actually to escape and watch something which lightened their heart or their spirits. And our employees took it very, very personally as the purpose of their going above and beyond during these pandemic times. And so did the lead artists, and so did a lot of talent who really worked very hard to ensure that their presence on screen is not limited by the so-called production sets availability. They used their homes, they converted their homes to become production sets. They used high flashing smartphones to record a lot of those live televised versions. So that's that one angle. The other part wherein I would call out what we did differently to ensure that the organization is avidly supporting this purpose and this discretionary engagement, which Raghav very passionately talked about, is that we went above and beyond to enable the infrastructure that was driven along with it. Right from ensuring that there is an alternate work pattern that is in place. By alternate work pattern, what I mean is since the beginning of pandemic, media was an exempted service because it needed to be continued to be broadcasted, to be produced. So we ensured that the employees who are going above and beyond to keep those tele series alive, they're taken care of, their families are taken care of, their health and well-being is a priority. So right from personalized transportations to equipments going to their doorstep, to practically anything and everything which helps my employee be safe in a perceived bio bubble was my first priority. And that's the hybrid which was created. For the second set, wherein a lot of presumed work could only happen in life. And I'll give one test case here, which has been replicated across the world now. We were the first in the country and in the world to drive virtual auditions. Virtual auditions were never heard of in media industry. If you were doing a Kaun Banega Crorepati or an Indian Idol audition, you will go to 50 cities in the country to do it. But this time we said, why don't we get this virtual screen on the table? And for the first time ever, Kaun Banega Crorepati, which is a very loved show by many of us, actually went completely virtual on auditions and had a 5x return from the warmth and love which many applied for because of the technology availability. So we went and invested heavily in ensuring that a lot of things which were on foot became very virtual, and there was a seamless consumer connect that was created around it. And that led to practically what you see on screen becoming avidly available as well. The third has been accepting what Maha stated is the new normal. That acceptance of the new normal helped us make some very operating level fundamental shifts in the way we operate. Some of it was driven by enabling technology to drive your effort, but some of it was also driven by your ability to do less of many things which were taken for granted. For example, if one set and one shoot of 5 hours took 200 people to enable a task, that was done in one third of that presence, because we needed to ensure, again, health and safety is primary. A lot of our talent, and I'm going to use a very tactical example here, who's very used to having spot people and somebody carrying an umbrella and somebody getting water and somebody taking care of five other things around it. That same talent was very comfortable saying, I'll do it on my own, I'll manage it. And that, I think, took a lot of personal, I would say, gravitas. At the same time, also took an organization's purpose to the next level, where that collaboration and coming together helped in bringing that 200 people presence down to 30. So, in a nutshell, a lot of these efforts helped us create a hybrid model of presence wherein you had people present in person, and their safety, security, health, well-being was utmost important for us, followed by people who could very comfortably work in the presence of their home infrastructure. We managed those spaces for them as well. I can go very detailed live, but there are just so many things which we did for offline employees as well in terms of enabling their home infrastructure, ensuring that they're taken care of, their families are taken care of. But time will beat. I'm sure we'll double click on those in the near future.
Surely, Manu. This entire pandemic has been full of paradoxes, right? At one end, the connects have become boundaryless. They have become absolutely agnostic to hierarchy and leading to much more engaged workforce. But on the other hand, and you spoke about it, Manu, and I think everybody spoke about it. Anil spoke about it. Raghavendra spoke about it extremely passionately about it. But on the other hand, the social, the informal connects in my mind have really reduced. I really miss walking up to a colleague's office for a gup shop, just like a chit chat. I really miss that. So my question to you, Maha, is, and I'll hear from Anil about you, from you also about this, is steps that I'm sure you have taken or you're planning to take to balance this entire human aspect of it and the technology aspect of it. And I'm really talking about the social connects and the informal connects, Maha.
Actually, let me anecdotally talk about informal first, and then I'll perhaps give the more serious answer. I think we realized that, I think the coffee cooler, the water cooler is as it's called. So in Mondelez, and this is not an India thing, so I take zero credit for this one, okay? Globally, in one function, we piloted something called Random, okay? And Random Connections essentially is a web platform wherein whenever you want to take a break, okay, you just log in into Random. You may bump into a colleague who you don't know from anywhere in the world, okay, who's also taking a break at the same moment, okay? And you have a 5-minute chat and you get up. So Random is just it's a little experiment we are doing to really see if we can simulate the water cooler in an ecosystem because in the water cooler you don't plan and meet, right? If you're planning and meeting, you can set up a Zoom call, put video on and do your antakshari or drinks or whatever you're doing, right? But Random, the beauty of Random is there is no predicting who you're going to be bumping into, and that's really, I think, the anecdote I wanted to say. But in terms of connections, I really feel that, look, why do we connect? We connect for a set of things. We connect for clarity. We connect because we want to feel heard. We want to be kind of getting inspired, or feel included, or, relax, or get recognized, and I think once we know the why of those connections, there is a way to enable all of that. The other example I have is something called pause for applause, wherein we said in the middle of the pandemic, we said 1 hour. The only thing we are going to do is actually make a pile of calls or draw or write poems and just say thank you to whoever you want to say thank you to. It could be to the frontline colleagues who are actually going day in and day out and selling or producing. It could be to someone who was with you when you were having a horrible day because your nearest friend had a tough time. So I could go on like this. But I would say, look, there are two parts to it. Once you're clear on what happens, what does connection really give us, there is a way to create its hybrid avatar, and once we go to the essence of what does a human want, if it's clarity, ensuring that there are town halls, so there are, communications on what is the company really trying to do. Because our other discovery was that people actually really want to help the company to succeed. It is not like, we actually had to tell them, dude, relax, because somewhere we are in it together, but somewhere don't kill yourself and, have some sense of, balance and use technology to block off some time when you're not going to be focusing on work. So yeah, I think these are some examples that I think I could share, and I'll stop here.
Thanks, Maha. In fact, I've been thinking of doing random FaceTimes with colleagues, just call them with my camera on and insist that they switch on their camera, and hopefully that would not be too getting into their privacy and all such thing. But I'm really wanting to do that. And this random room, I think GitLab also has done something like that. So very interesting. I'm going to adapt it majorly in my organization also. Anil, over to you. How do you, or how have you heard about in practices about bringing in the sociability part of it into the virtual world by when you're engaging with the employees?
Yeah, thanks. Ruchira, we all know that virtual and remote work can also create communication barrier. And actually, initial part of this pandemic situation, probably I also spoke to many of my friends, and this was the biggest challenge they had in the initial part of it. And I also think that learning the art of authentic conversation is also very important, and it was very important to begin with. And in my thinking, how one can be authentic from the HR perspective, or from the perspective of keeping employee engaged. So one-on-one conversation will help you to discover the actual inner side of the people. And I put it this way that last about 10, 12 years, I've been talking in all the forums where I speak, that maybe the definition of HR should get changed to HHR. And this is, building heart-to-heart relationship with people. Now, once we have an authentic conversation with people, we are in a position to identify their strengths, their interest areas, their aspirations, their dreams, and so on and so forth. Now, the point is how we can be authentic. It is not only important to be fair, in my thinking, but it is also important to be seen fair. So we know that perceptions are greater than reality. So the crux is authenticity is to being real, true to yourself, and acting with all good intention with your people, no matter how many flaws you may have. The point is that doing so allows our people to come closer, and it helps create a psychologically safe environment.
I'm going to get to, cognizant of the time, also to the last segment. You spoke about that magical potion, right, that HR needs to really focus on. If you have to prioritize one thing that HR really needs to do in order to create a a very engaged workforce, what that one thing would be? Quickly, in 1 minute time, so that I'm able to cover everybody's thought.
Okay, thanks. You're putting me on the spot in terms of saying covered in 1 minute. I think it's designing a workplace culture of equality and equanimity, if I may say so. And the example that comes to my mind is Zappos, where the CEO actually focuses a lot more time in terms of selecting people who fits into the company culture than anything else. I think culture is the key to make it work. For us, it starts right at the top. Giving a very quick example, at the beginning of the pandemic, the senior leadership of 18 people locked ourselves just before the pandemic, locked ourselves for 3 days and talked about what is it we as an organization need to be doing to walk the talk, look at in terms of how to make people part of the organization, live, feel, breathe, and feel happy about it. We did a 3-day session of authentic leadership workshop where we looked at all aspects of the future, employee well-being, ikigai, health, head, heart, health, and happiness is how I would say we looked into to make it count. I think today, if I look at my ESAT scores, it's the highest ever in a history of a company. If I look at CSAT scores, again, it is the highest ever in the history of the company. So something in terms of the leaders walking the talk, looking at the 4 H's as we would like to talk about: head, heart, health, and happiness. Looking at ikigai, using of analytics, talent analytics, and look at how we can engage employees to make a difference is what I can say if I have to say it in a minute. Thank you.
Very well put. Very well put. Thank you so much. Manu, if you have to put in a minute to wrap up your thoughts around this area and say if this is something HR needs to do, this is it, and especially in your organization.
Keeping the core as engagement and really taking workplace experience as the front head. I will just simply put it that humanizing the technology which is used to connect the organization and individual is the first priority which needs to be taken up by HR. And second is digitizing the human mind. So it's a connecting of the bridge, humanize the technology and digitize the human mind. If there's one ask which I would have for many of you who are listening in is please connect that bridge. And that would be my parting thought for the forum.
Brilliant, Manu. As always, you take the cake out of putting the thoughts, and culminating everything that has been discussed into a brief phrase. Thank you. But I'm sure Maha and Anil have equally brilliant thoughts. So Maha, over to you.
Okay, I'm still absorbing that one. It's a fantastic punchline of sorts, which is digitize the mind, but humanize technology. Yeah, it's a fantastic one. So compliments, Manu. So look, to my mind, if I had to put role of HR in one sentence, I would really say be the catalyst and lead the change, because both life and work have completely gone through a reset. So get into the center of it and see how we can reimagine and reset is really what I would say all of us need to do. And the one thing I'd like to do even more is listen deeply, listen with gratitude, and also listen with kindness, because I realize I may not really know what everyone's going through, So I think that's really mine. Thanks.
Thank you, Maha. Absolutely. Empathy, resilience, kindness has become the new normal route now in the corporate world. So great. Anil, over to you.
So in my view, I think those companies and people who will sign in future, we will rethink, reinvent, re-strengthen, rebuild, and at the same time, they will be resilient. So I think the HR has a very important role here to play. And I'll repeat my statement of building heart-to-heart relationship with people. Also looking at the diversity and new dimension to bring in improvement in the culture and the processes. Digitization technology will be handy to drive that change process in times to come.
Thank you, Anil, for putting it so succinctly. So after listening to you, I think if I have to bucket this entire thought, very difficult, but I'm trying my best to really bucket whatever you have spoken into three areas. One definitely is the entire piece of the role of leadership in making things happen in the organization. Manu started by talking about amplified leadership, and we saw that getting resonated in thoughts of Maha when she spoke about how different practices are being put in terms of not just connecting with people, but putting different products out there, right? Giving a culture of saying, make mistakes, but go ahead and put it together. And that really comes right from the top. Raghav, of course, spoke about that extensively, and Anil touched upon it. So that's the first bucket, I think. Second bucket, which is again run across like a theme in all your responses, all your insights, was culture, the nuances, the feel on the ground, and that is something which I feel is really evolving, right? In all our organizations, these things have taken center stage, which we always thought were nice to do things have become really core part of doing business, whether the way you're connecting with the customers. And the greatest example that Raghav spoke about, that the CSAT scores are the highest in his organization, right? The highest ever, Raghav, that you spoke about. So the cultural nuances in terms of connecting with the customers, with different stakeholders, different employees, is again the second bucket I thought is extremely intrinsic as how it is driving the connect between the employees also, right? Third piece, which is, as Manu very rightly and brilliantly put in, the technology and the digitization aspect, and how it is getting humanized, how it is getting really part and parcel of the work culture, the new normal as normal really now that's really happening in the organizations. And the bedrock and the core of whichever way we want to look at it is empathy, is resilience, and this just core kindness into this picture, right? And with all this, the organizations, I think, and the HR teams, I think, and listening to all of you across 4 different industries is something as HR is really driving that change and has been at the core of the change while engaging differently with whether it's virtually, whether it is hybrid, using technology, not using technology, with their employees and helping them, enabling them to do their best. Thank you guys. Thank you for your insights. I wish we had 1 hour more to listen to all of you and your thoughts and the examples. Thank you so much. And thank you, ETHR World, for organizing this. My pleasure, it was.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you everyone for touching every aspect of the topic. Let's proceed for the next session. Stay tuned.